The first thing I did after buying my new to me NC Miata is throw on the Goodwin Racing Super Q exhaust. And in that video, I said this is really the exhaust the Miata should came with from the factory. And I still agree with that. However, when this RoadsterSport race exhaust popped up on Facebook Marketplace for an absolute steal, you know I had to buy it just to give it a shot. So on this episode of Project NC, we're gonna throw the RoadsterSport race muffler on the car and see how it sounds and see whether or not it's actually too loud or just right for this car. Play the intro. A bit of a nitpick. Before we throw this thing on the car, I need to clean this thing up because it is just disgusting to look at and I cannot have this. For as inexpensive as this exhaust was, I'm not expecting perfection, but I do want it to look better. And working with dirty used parts is never that much fun, so gross, very gross. So this muffler appears to have some sort of overspray on it, and I'm not sure if maybe the car was painted and they left the muffler on, or what, but that's obviously not super cool. So this paint overspray on the muffler was no joke. So what I ended up doing after trying a few other things unsuccessfully was actually using a wire brush to scrape off the excess overspray on the muffler. From there, I was able to use a liberal amount of aluminum exhaust polish and get this thing looking pretty good. All in, it took about 15 to 20 minutes of just muscling it and getting this thing nice and shiny again. But the end result was definitely worth it. Swapping out the rear muffler on an NC is not a particularly challenging job. There are only two bolts holding the muffler onto the mid-pipe. Remove those, and on stock style exhausts like this Super Q muffler, remove the exhaust from the four hangers holding it onto the chassis. With the Super Q muffler removed and placed next to the RoadsterSport race exhaust, you can see the massive difference in size between the two units. This RoadsterSport race is definitely going to be pretty loud. The gasket that came with the RoadsterSport race exhaust was completely trash. After doing a bit of searching online, I found this perfect replacement, part number 31512, that you can find on Amazon for a very reasonable price. I'll go ahead and include a link in the description down below for anyone interested. The RoadsterSport race definitely earns a lot of brownie points when it comes to installing, because with just two hangers to do and the two bolts, it goes on super duper fast. And of course, fitment is perfect as you'd expect from Goodwin Racing parts. Oh, hi there. It's your boy, just checking in. Are you enjoying the video so far? Well, of course you are. That's because this is some grade A primo content we're talking about. So go ahead and show your support by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. It's free and it helps the channel. All right, back to the video. Driving in the car around with the RoadsterSport race exhaust, and yeah, it's pretty loud. Up to about 2,000 to 2,500 RPMs, a really boomy, loud exhaust, which is not really the place you kind of want it to be loud and boomy. The exhaust note actually progressively mellows as the revs rise, which is kind of the opposite of what you want, right? You kind of want the harder you rev the engine, the louder it gets. This is kind of the opposite. And I think there are a couple reasons for that. First, I want to say I had a very similar experience on my old Civic Si. On that vehicle, I briefly tried an exhaust setup where it was completely stock all the way to the rear axle back section, where it replaced the stock muffler with a really small one, kind of like this. And the effect was very similar to this. On an otherwise stock car, it went from nice and quiet, almost silent around town when kind of nice when you rev it, to quite loud and quite buzzy. Perhaps it's an inherent frequency thing when tuning exhaust notes for naturally aspirated 4-cylinders that it produces a similar result. Freeway drone, it is there. If you are sensitive to freeway drone, that kind of whoa, that flat exhaust note you get as you're kind of cruising along in 6th gear, this is not the setup for you. The drone isn't terrible, but it's obviously not great. And when you're going up mild grades like the road I'm on right now, you're in the drone zone. You can't really escape it until you're over about 3,500, maybe 4,000 RPM, where the exhaust note really cleans up quite notably. Speaking of drone, here's what a cold start sounds like. If lightweight is your game, well, it's pretty hard to beat this, short of just putting a turn down on the mid-pipe and cutting out the muffler altogether. It weighs just 8 pounds. Which is about 16 pounds lighter than the Super Q muffler I had on the car before, and about 19 pounds lighter than the stock NC muffler. By putting that tiny muffler back there, you effectively opened up a giant space between the rear wheels, the rear floor, and the rear bumper cover, which aerodynamically could create kind of a parachute effect. I'm not sure how prominent that would be in real life, but I do know that when BMW designs the mufflers on their vehicles, they specifically design the shape of them to reduce that inherent drag effect you create under the rear bumper like that. How much you care about aero and how effective that really is, I don't know, but it's certainly something to consider. More practically is, with that big gap now in that area, that has to be creating quite a lot of resonance and quite a lot of wind drag. And that probably also kind of reverberates the exhaust note, because I think while it's pretty loud on the outside, it's honestly louder in the car than it is to your neighbors. Here's some driving footage where I have a mic attached to the rear bumper right over the exhaust, as well as a mic in the cabin. Up here with the RoadsterSport race muffler. It's not perfect. In fact, it's a bit annoying around town and at low speeds. But if you really like to drive your Miata and drive it hard, and you come up here into the winding canyon roads or do autocross or track days, it just makes a lot of sense. The more I drive it, the more I enjoy it. But I'll let you guys make your own conclusions about this thing. After all, if you're interested in buying it, it's your money. And you'll be the ones living with it. Yeah, watch the clips back, enjoy the nice noises. And if you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps me out. It allows me to make more fun car content. In any case, guys, my name is Jake. You've been watching Drive, Brake, Fix, Repeat in one very loud NC Miata. And I'll see you guys next time where I go do more fun things with cars. Bye.